Here's a challenge for you. Watch John Kerry for 58 seconds without cringing.
If Russia has the ability to wage a war illegally and invade another country, they ought to be able to find the effort to be responsible in the climate issue. Unfortunately, because of the actions that Russia took in an unprovoked, illegal war against another nation, we have not been engaged in discussions with Russia. Sadly, I say sadly because it's a loss for the world not to be able to have Russia acting constructively on this issue. But we need every country, including Russia. Russia is one of the largest emitters in the world. If Russia wanted to show good faith, they could go out and announce what their reductions are going to be and make a greater effort to reduce emissions now. And maybe that would open up the door for people to feel better about what Russia is choosing to do at this point in time.
Hundreds of thousands die, and Kerry thinks people might forgive Putin if he just helps us lower the temperature half a degree. It's like he's been brainwashed by a cult to ignore reality. Let's review.
Russia is one of the largest emitters in the world.
Yeah, Russia's fourth in emissions, but the US easily tops them. Zero self-awareness there, John. Canada's per capita scores are even worse. Kerry should be shaming Trudeau rather than Putin. And those millions of migrants will go from burning 3 tons per person in Mexico to 14 tons in the States. I'm not counting the emissions it will take to build 5 million new homes for them all.
Because of the actions that Russia took in an unprovoked, illegal war.
And it was unprovoked and illegal for the Americans to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, creating a record release of methane and forcing Europe to turn on the coal plants.
We have not been engaged in discussions with Russia, sadly.
You want to talk to Russians about the weather? It's below freezing 5 months of the year. Or maybe you could suggest solar panels for the tanks. Hey, and China isn't at war. Go talk to them about all those new coal-fired plants.
If Russia wanted to show good faith, they could go out and announce what their reductions are going to be.
It's all about announcements, not about actually doing anything. It's to let people know you're pledging allegiance to the tribe, to the cult. And Kerry himself has signed up for the Great Reset.
They ought to be able to find the effort to be responsible in the climate issue.
How about personal responsibility, like private jet trips? Do you really need to emit 20 tons of CO2 to fly to Iceland to get an award from a group that doesn't even care you're emitting 20 tons? And let's lie about jets.
The John Kerry family private jet was sold shortly after accusations of climate hypocrisy.
I personally,
your family.
Personally, yes, my wife owned a plane and sold the plane.
You flew on that plane.
In 2009, Kerry wrote that the Arctic would be ice-free in 2013 and told the Senate,
in 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer.
Even by 2016, when those predictions had proven to be spectacularly wrong, he doubled down, again warning of climate catastrophe. No amount of evidence and no reality checks will affect the cult's beliefs. And we need to know Kerry's embarrassing record with the apocalypse, because he's now claiming that we have to cut food production to avoid disaster. You can't just continue to both warm the planet while also expecting to feed it. It doesn't work. So we have to reduce emissions from the food system. In other words, his cult is ready to make human sacrifices through starvation to reach its goals. But he won't even sacrifice his jets. And you can feed a warming planet. A NASA reports the Earth has gotten greener with more CO2. It's obvious even from outer space. Even more heat would also lengthen the growing season in northern countries like Canada and Russia. Then Kerry embarrasses himself by using the same fake science he used for the bogus sea ice predictions. Kerry says agriculture contributes 33% of emissions, but the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency says it's only 11.2% in the United States. But even that's too high. Crops grow by absorbing CO2 from the air. Michigan State University calculated an acre of corn can remove 16 tons of CO2 per acre. It's a net carbon sink. So any agriculture cuts would just cause job cuts, bankruptcy, and hunger. Or the government would lose tax revenue from that production. All money needs to keep the schools and hospitals open. And it won't change the weather one bit. Welcome to the death cult.